question for you. Now all these articles are coming out, like the CDC is saying that the vaccine is linked to stroke.
Yeah.
You still can't talk about it. YouTube.
YouTube does not condone that. If anything, we can talk about it at the end, but I don't.
They still don't. They're still not ready for that.
They're still not ready for the facts. I don't know what the
CDC.
Yeah, I don't know what the credentials are for what can be said and what can't be said on YouTube anymore. Especially now that we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but the whole 5-second rule, 18-second rule, where you have to wait 18 seconds to say a swear word, everyone's getting demonetized. And I mean everybody. So I think YouTubers are going to have to, I mean, it seems like they're banding together to.
They have to.
Yeah.
Why does it stink over here?
I don't know.
Don't be sticking it up over here.
Don't blame me.
It's very hot. Should we open a window? Aren't you hot over here?
No, I'm cold, actually.
So we can put the fan on? Well, you're wearing a tank top. It's
Yeah.
January and it's like 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, but the basement is like 90. Anyways, episode 28, I think we're on. These things are flying by. Missy, we're not going to start with this, but I will hold you because you're adorable. Yeah, not that much.
I only have 2 articles in there.
There's not a terrible amount of news. I mean, there's big news, but not like a lot of news. So, as you guys know, we're going to be talking politics today because I mean we had some. Oh yeah, we got to talk about the Biden story. Oh. We have to. But that's going to be at the end, so when I edit it out, it'll be on Spotify, not on YouTube. So, again, as always, I'll post a link down below for the Spotify version of the podcast. Or, well, I'll throw it in Discord, but yeah. I don't even know where to start today. I still have to bring up my articles. I have some good ones. I got some bad ones. Let's see. Unless you want to start while I pull these up. Your call. What are you feeling?
Well, I can start, and my question to everybody is, what did you do on your winter break from school, those of you in school? A guy by the name of Edward Tyan, or Tyan, it's an Asian name, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but he decided to look into the ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, oh yeah.
And over winter break, he developed an app.
I saw this, yeah.
Because he felt like it. So he's 22 years old. He attends Princeton University. He's currently a senior. Over the winter break, he decided that before the winter break, a teacher presented 2 essays, and he asked which one was an AI and which one wasn't, generated an AI essay. And the students could not tell the difference. Now, Tian, if I'm pronouncing it right, he uses AI for coding and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So he's not anti-AI. But he did foresee a problem with this when you can't even tell the difference in terms of credibility of what you're looking at, which goes back to what we were saying. It's not just about cheating and learning and everything else. You always have to have a baseline, and that baseline is based on knowledge, right? So AI generates a paper. You and I can tell if it's valid or not because we have background information that we learned in school, that we read, blah, 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 blah. So we have something to base it on. AI can start generating stuff, and 3 generations from now it could be all false. It's like the old telephone game. You change one little piece of information, and the whole message changes. Remember that when you'd say the thing around the room? Yeah. So, anyhow, he saw a problem with it. He spent his winter break creating an app to tell the difference, and he named that app GPTZero, as in Zero. It uses 2 variables to check the text, perplexity and burstiness. Okay? Then he assigns a score to it. So burstiness is short or long sentences. Most people, human beings, when they write, tend to vary. Mm-hmm. Short and long sentences throughout an essay. When AI does it, it's very consistent. So that's another thing. He would put a score to it. If the perplexity score was high, human. If the burstiness score was high, human. So by using that, he was able to create this app. And I forget it was a very high percentage rate of how much it identified AI. Mm-hmm. Teachers in universities are now very interested in getting his GPT-0.
Yeah.
He values AI, but saw a need to know the difference for the info. So very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've discussed this, but I don't think ChatGPT was designed to help kids with papers.
No.
That's not why they wanted to make it. They made it
Right.
for, again, scientists, coders who are having problems. For a kid, that's the fact that it can do a paper in seconds on whatever you say. That's just a byproduct of the software.
Right.
So, to your point, I mean, it's the classic example of there's good to AI, there's bad to AI, right. Or good to technology, bad to technology. The problem with this is that, again, wasn't made to help kids cheat on or like get through papers so that they don't have to do it. It was made so, hey, you have a question, we can help you answer the question. It's just a byproduct.
Yeah.
So, again, this was inevitable. We knew something like that was going to happen. We apologize for all the animals over here. Freaking, our father's not home, so he can't take them. So we have both the animals fighting over here. So with ChatGPTZero, I mean, this was an inevitability. Either it was going to happen today or tomorrow. Like it was going to be very quick, no matter what. Someone's going to figure out a software to counteract the, I don't know, blessing / curse that this thing has or gives us. So.
Well, I mean, it's not only serves a purpose, but definitely guarantees Mr. Chian a job when he graduates from college.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, there are people right now, I just saw, like, the number one trending thing, or, like, top trending thing of the week was how to make money off ChatGPT, which, very good question, but that's another one of those, you're a coder now, but you don't just input, instead of actually coding, you just say, I need a program that does this, and it'll do it for you. So is that really programming? Is that coding? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's another question. If AI is doing it for you, and he even said he uses the AI for it, for his coding, that's great. But then what do I need scientists for if I got AI to do that stuff, right? Why do I need an individual to do all that? They're almost like...
It's counterintuitive because, again, it's the perfect example of something that we need / don't need, but... It helps a lot, but it's going to hurt in the future. Mm-hmm. Like there's going to be a ton. The change in technology when it comes to learning and doing projects is going to rapidly change perspective-wise. Like, can it start answering questions on its own? Like, can it start predicting questions? That'll be interesting. And again, we talked about this is just phase 1 of what's going to be 100 different instances. In the next 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. So at that point, what's going to be happening? But as I said before, I had to bring the animals up. The number one trending thing for a while this week was how to make money off ChatGPT. Right. And with that comes a whole different territory of work, which is I want to be a coder. I don't want to learn how to code. This company hired me to make an entire software for how to build... I don't know what's a good example. How to build, let's just say whatever. And we need some kind of code to manage who's buying windshields. Right? Instead of doing the coding, I could just say, could ChatGPT make me a code? And then boom, you're a coder.
Right.
Does that make sense? Not really. I just don't know where it's going to go from there. Like in the sense of, is she down here again? Oh my God.
I told you to shut the door. She'll be fine.
Get over here. Holy, this is unbelievable.
Years ago, people had to do spreadsheets. And then they came up with Excel. And Excel can now do all these advanced calculations and whatnot or maybe not even advanced, but you could build in formulas and whatnot. And now nobody does that anymore. They just do a spreadsheet. Why would you go through and make it? So it's similar to that. At some point you don't need to do those calculations on a spreadsheet.
That's it. I don't know if Excel, like if I said make a spreadsheet for me, I feel like it would make a ton of mistakes trying to do that. Like if I said, because it doesn't have any data to base it off of, so if I said I need a financial spreadsheet of how our company did last year, I don't know if it can generate it properly because it won't know where
the parameters. It would have to understand what you meant by a financial spreadsheet.
But if I'm giving it all the parameters like that, does that kind of defeat the purpose of having an AI do it for me?
No, I'm saying you have to make the equivalent to a macro on an Excel spreadsheet. You'd have to tell it. And that's what I'm saying. You always have to have that human interaction to set it up. Then it could do it for any company based on the same parameters as long as it can pull the data, the sales, the revenue, this, the that, and plug it into the right spots. To me, it's like an Excel spreadsheet. Only we as humans still have to input that information. My point was you could put the formula in, or the formula could be built into a macro. Same thing with AI, like we're saying, you could pull the information and create something. That's how we're moving. We went from doing it ourselves with pen and paper and a calculator to Excel to computers to now AI is actually generating it.
It's interesting because this is the first time we've seen, right, people like financial advisors became a thing, or people in finance. It was, hey, here's a calculator to help you. Like back in the day, you didn't have that. Now it's, hey, we have these things that will take over the job. How do you keep up with it? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So as we said with instances, when we get to instance 100, 200, will there be that's the whole argument of, will we need the human mind anymore? Will it get to the point where entire banks can do all their financial stuff without having a human? Like a calculator, to your point, you still have the human interaction of something has to give the parameters. I bet you the next step of any AI, not just ChatGPT, is, can it predict the questions you are going to ask? And I think ChatGPT kind of can do that, but again, it's based off of information from the past.
Yes.
So if you can have an AI that's predicting the future questions, like at a real, I'm sure we have AI that does that, but I mean at a real high level of basically human thinking, do you need the human at that point?
And that's the concern.
Right.
Right.
But you can't have it run the business, right? So is it that humans lose their job, or do they just get pushed to a different department? Because someone still has to be a CEO. You're not going to have a robot CEO.
Well, you just need fewer people.
In the company, right.
In general.
Yeah.
Humanity, you don't need as many people. And there's a school of thought, and it's gaining a lot of traction, that the goal is to gradually eliminate the human population, take over food supplies.
Is it human population? Like, is that the Armageddon? Or to me, what if it's, hey, let's have a family robot that'll go work? Well, we can do what we want, but that's the main financial source of income.
Well, you're talking short term. That's not the end game, to give everybody a family robot, because we're learning that people are doing fewer and fewer jobs because it's being automated. And you saw not too long ago, for instance, at Amazon, when the workers were starting to ask for more money, the answer for the company is, we'll put in robots and we don't need you at all. Why they don't do that, I don't know why. Because, I think there's still some incentive for them financially to hire workers and put them in there. But in essence, that's the goal of a corporation, to produce products as quickly and as cheaply as possible. And if human beings don't fill that need, right? Now you're taking it to a higher level, and you're saying we don't even need them for higher level work that in the past you needed humans to do, right? Now robots are taking that over too. So yeah, it's cute. It's fun to have an iRobot vacuum your carpet. I mean, that's the future, and the future's now.
That stupid little thing that just hits walls. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, but
the little Roomba.
in general, when you look at the works and you listen to some of these individuals who are currently talking, mostly in Europe, Davos, those type of people, they don't hide it anymore. There is no need for human beings, and that is their goal. They don't need humans. It's bizarro, but that is the work of these. I give you names because there's plenty of them, and I've seen quotes of what they have said, and that is their end game. That we don't need humans. Is the end game tomorrow? No, but that's what we're working towards, and that's why everybody needs to be very concerned about AI, artificial intelligence. When they're talking about putting things in your brain, and we've talked about this, right?
Like Neuralink.
That's very dangerous in the sense that, can it be helpful to people who have Parkinson's or whatnot? Absolutely. That's not a bad thing.
It's when it gets in the hands of the wrong people.
Right.
And then the control comes.
Right. And even for people who have a disability, they may say, you know what, I don't want somebody to be able to bypass what this chip is meant to do for me. And that's always a possibility. It's a risk for them, and they may be willing, if you're suffering, you're willing to try anything. But this is a concern because it immediately goes from that to, oh, why doesn't everybody get one? Yeah. So if you're not disabled, but if we put a chip in you, you'll be super this, super that.
Hey, we can make something better. Then it's, oh, well, then I'll get one too. It makes me better than what I am. But again, I think that's, to your point, it's kind of that's pretty far in the future. I think we still have another 30 years before we even start experimenting with stuff like that. Neuralink, the more I read on it, all that stuff that we've seen is great, but it's not nearly done. Like they think it's not going to be done before Elon's lifetime. Like it doesn't have that kind of. So
he's
that's
just one man in the process.
Yeah.
You know,
the question is when Elon either passes or sells the company, who takes over, and then that person, it's not like you liquidate a company like Tesla. Someone has to take over.
Right.
So the question is, does Elon have someone lined up for Tesla? Like what happened? I wonder what the contingency plan is for that.
They call it succession planning. But like we said, Tesla has a lot of problems right now. So
well,
you don't
we
know
can get
if Tesla
into that
is
because
beyond
I actually do have an article on that. I think. Well, I guess we could start with
there
that.
are some
one.
financial issues for
we
that.
can go right to that one. So Tesla just made its huge major shift in the EV market, the electric vehicle market, because they just did some huge price cuts. Mm-hmm. You might have saw that. So Tesla obviously hasn't been doing too well because of the inquisition of Twitter. Mm-hmm. Acquisition, not inquisition. Mm-hmm. The inquisition's was Spanish, right? The acquisition of Twitter. So the question that everyone's been wondering, and Elon's not very, it doesn't really talk about it. It's like, where is his mindset right now? Like, what's the primary focus? And he'll say Tesla, Twitter, whatever. But the question, he's got to put more time into the other, right? You can't be running two companies simultaneously like that by yourself, essentially. So I think right now his main focus is on Twitter. And the idea is we're going to kind of let Tesla stock go down a little bit because he just can't manage all of it. Ideally, you have a CEO who runs most of it. I don't know who the CEO of. I guess Tesla's CEO is still Elon.
I don't know.
I think I'd have to check that one.
Yeah, I mean, everybody identifies him as the head of the company.
Head of the company, right? But I don't know if he's actually the CEO. I'm curious. CEO of Tesla, is it? Okay, so he is still the CEO. Yeah, so he's the CEO of two companies right now, and not two small companies.
Yeah, but Twitter's not hard to run.
Yeah,
he's actually done a
so.
very good job because he's done the basics. Get rid of the dead weight. You know, that's normally what you do in a company that's not doing well. You come in, you identify where the problem areas are, and usually it's extra people, right? And he cleared that out. You don't need that many people, and it turned out a lot of
What do you mean we don't need 8,000 people or 18,000 people or whatever it was?
Counteractive to what the platform's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And he's in the process of looking at the policies because, you know, as you know, Twitter's nothing. It's not a thing. They don't make a product. It's a platform.
It's an advertiser bonanza.
Yeah, it pulls advertising. It pulls information. It disseminates information. It's supposed to be a voice for anybody and everybody, but yet it's confined by its policies and parameters, right? Mm-hmm. All the social media is supposed to be that way. And he's gone in and understood that they made things more complicated for themselves because they were too loose with their parameters with some, too strict with others, and it became a nightmare. Having said that, at some point he's going to get Twitter under control, and I think that's why he's been looking for a CEO to come in and run the company. Yeah. But remember, he spent a lot of money on this company, and he's got investors, he's got people he's got to pay back, and it's got to turn some sort of profit, or he's got to sell it, or he's got to do something with it to make
and if he
some
sells
money.
Twitter, then that's a whole nother animal because if you thought it was bad before in the sense of, oh, he's buying out Twitter and now we have a whole takeover and a shift, when you sell the company, I don't think he's going to care who it sells for. He just wants to get rid of it. And then that's another, that could be dicey.
Well, yes and no. Like I said, he's got to make, he paid a lot of money for it. And, you know, he doesn't want to take from his, I can't speak for him, but you wouldn't want to take from other. It should be able to financially support itself. Right. But it's got to be worth something. And people have been saying long before Elon Musk bought it was it's smoke and mirrors Twitter. They make it look like it's more than it is. Yeah. And it turned out exactly that. It's a crime scene. It's a lot of activity that's going to get investigated, and it's a problem. Fortunately for him, in a way, he's quote unquote working with the authorities before they even asked it, because that was he needed to do that.
You have to, you don't want to build off the one thing that's taking probably the most time is the fact that it's hard to build a company while you're trying to get the shit out still. And I don't mean the employees, I mean like all the stuff that was done behind closed doors, that were corners were cut. So I think that's where the bulk of his time is going. Right. And he can't just throw in a new CEO right now for that.
Well, and remember, there was a dip at first. All the advertisers, especially the woke ones, oh, we don't want anything to do with you because now you're allowing free speech, which is basically not what they said, but that's what they meant. You're letting everybody on who has a voice. Well, that's called free speech, okay? Whether you like what they say or not.
Yeah.
So they didn't like it. But my understanding, I haven't read anything or specifically seen, but I've been told the advertisers are starting to come back now.
Yeah.
And that's big because that's what funds
And it
these
seems
things.
like it was very quiet comebacks too. It was
Yes.
like, oh, we don't want this freedom of whatever. We don't like the idea where Twitter's going, which big mistake to begin with because you're basically saying you're for censorship.
Right.
So that's phase number one. But it seems like now, like I saw a sponsor on my Twitter that I thought left. I won't say which one, but I thought they left because of the censorship, and then I see advertisements. So it's like they definitely were like, listen, we don't like the idea, but we need the money, so we'll slide on in.
Right.
Because it's, again, Twitter has the most users right now it's ever had. So Elon's doing something right, but as nice as Twitter is right now, whether you like it or not, he's going to right now his primary focus is getting all those dead bodies out of the closet, I think is the saying is.
No, skeletons out of the closet.
Skeletons out of the closet.
Right. And also exposing what people have known all along, but they couldn't identify. It's when you're a platform, a social media platform, you have to let, in our country, you have to let all voices, especially when you've got advertisers like that and you're not government funded, although we found out that it was government funded.
In certain areas.
That's a whole other area. But having said that, that is the one theme with this country that no matter what happens, money talks. And when all these woke companies came out, like Disney, for instance, went very, very woke, right? They paid the price for that.
Yeah.
And I personally am a stockholder in Disney. I'm not happy with the price that was paid because they're not making money. And all of a sudden they brought in a new CEO, and all of a sudden he's changing his tune a little bit. And now they have
He's like, hey, tickets are too expensive. It's like Disney saying tickets are too expensive.
Well, none of that. They had one failed movie after another because they were all woke type movies.
Puss in Boots is killing it right now, though.
Right. And do you remember we had this conversation in one of the earlier podcasts, right? There's radio. I don't know if your listeners follow, but on radio, they always tried to complain, they being like liberals versus conservatives, because there's a lot of conservative talk radio. Liberals always wanted to get in there and have their shows. Nobody stopped them. Problem was they didn't get the audience. People didn't want to hear long-term what they were saying. Like I said, money talks. Eventually, the federal government had to pump money into it, and you wound up with NPR, National Public Radio. And again, it's a perfect example. When you get the government involved, now they tend to lean in one direction, but that's not how it's supposed to be with government money. You're supposed to be partial, or if you want to be liberal, that's fine, have a liberal message. Same thing in social media. You took the conservatives off, and now you had smoke and mirrors that this company was doing well. It wasn't, right? And now, as you bring conservatives back on, you had that dip, but now you're seeing more people coming back to the platform, more people want to hear from many of these individuals, and they weren't all liberals. Some were conservatives, some were liberals that were taken off. Now you see the money come back. That's what makes the difference. Yeah. And Elon should be able to get it to a point where it may never be the on paper what it was when he bought it, but, I'm sure he can afford to take a slight loss on his taxes.
Well, like the way I see it is like, let's say he's worth like $350 billion. If he loses 62, let's say he loses like $300 billion, you still got $50 billion, right? So we're talking still generational wealth. Like we've never seen a wealth like that. Obviously, wealthiest man in the sense
I don't
of,
like to comment on people's wealth because I haven't looked at any statements, and
I
don't know how
I'm
much
just
is
saying
leveraged.
in the sense of like.
He's by far a wealthy individual.
Yes,
That's without
the money
saying.
I don't think is. Don't get me wrong. Seeing a loss of $60 billion is probably nuts. But like when you really break it down and like see all the other projects that are doing well, it's not like he's going to be poor from all of this. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I think when people go, "Oh, it's the end of Musk. He's going to go bankrupt." It's like what?
But you also have to remember too the ego of these individuals.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean him. I mean the Bill Gates, the Klaus Schwab, these individuals. When they get to
gotta
those,
bleep that name out.
Oh, sorry. When they get to that level, I mean this is bought. I mean Elon's the man. He was the man for good or bad, but he had all the attention for a solid month there. Yeah. And as these releases come out, I mean, there's an ego to that. To his credit, I mean, he's a short-term hero for us because he's finally coming in and saying, I got to open this up to free speech. That's what it's supposed to be. He may not like the stuff on there, but to his credit, he was willing to take the hit. But that hit made him even more of a legend, if you will, in my opinion, a short-term patriot, barring something else. Even if he said, I got to let liberals back on because there's too conservatives are blocking them. That's a patriot to me because that's free speech. You got to do that. So, it was, in some way, he would have been just another billionaire.
Yeah, it's. I think the best way of doing it is when you got to become so wealthy that they don't even talk about you. So, like, for instance, everyone thinks Elon Musk's the wealthiest man in the world, but in reality, there's just 5 families off the top of my head that I could think of that are worth way more.
Yeah,
that just aren't on Forbes.
Well, some are reclusive.
Yeah, like there's some. Yeah, again, whether they're good or bad people, that's a different story. But like, there are trillionaires out there, and people don't even know that, right? Like the oil tycoons and stuff. Those guys are worth sometimes multi-trillion dollars. So I mean, the only one that I think is really openly out there is, I think it's the Prince of Saudi Arabia or one of those.
It was always the Middle Eastern individuals that were always the wealthiest.
Because they always had always had oil. So or the oil companies. So that's why Dubai is like poverty. There's like $4 million.
But there's a radical readjustment coming.
Yeah.
To financials and dollars versus rubles versus this versus yuans and euros and everything else. Just because it's all paper money until what backs it up? That's always the question.
Gotta back it, right?
What backs it up? And yes, oil is very valuable. Yes, the Middle East has that. It's only valuable because people need it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't as valuable when places like the U.S. was oil independent. We fought wars over in that part of the world because of the oil that was there, because we needed it. Mm-hmm. There was a period of time, I call it the glorious time, where we didn't need any of it. Right. And all of a sudden, we didn't have to fight wars over there, right? Well, nobody liked that. People want the wars and they want the oil. So they stopped us from producing, or, we stopped producing. Now we're back to worrying about, and that gives them value in those countries because that's all they really have.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the oil, I just saw today that I think both Democrats and Republicans agreed that they were not going to go forward with Biden's selling of petroleum. They said, hey, we're not selling our oil. We need it. Good for the one time they come together.
More money. Yeah. He's buying it, refilling it, and more money. I saw an interesting article. Sweden just discovered a huge cache of minerals.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk about that because they didn't tell us exactly what elements there are, but. Yeah. Quick summary of that one. I don't have it, so I won't grab it. But basically, apparently, as you said, Sweden found what's the biggest amount of its special minerals. My guess is it's probably like a lithium or whatever, but
more valuable than oil.
They weren't very specific, which is the most annoying part. Like, nothing. Let me tell you, I was doing articles today. The clickbait and the lack of information that they throw into these articles is insane. But basically, for those of you that don't know, most of our lithium comes from, interestingly enough, it comes from the sea. Like, we're able to make salt batteries now. That kind of that idea, but it's a kind of a pain in the ass. The other place that we get it from is China. China has most of our lithium. So the world's lithium. Mm-hmm. China has a lot of resources, but just not enough to go around, I guess, or like they're hoarding it. Whatever. That's besides the point. Yeah. So the fact that Sweden just found this is kind of huge because now they're going to become the lead distributor of lithium easily, or whatever those minerals are. They got to get that all over the world. So
saying how great, it's huge.
Yeah, it's massive. So now you'll see, I don't know, the price of lithium batteries is probably going to go down slightly, which is good. But I don't know what else you do with those materials. But I just didn't think that there was enough information to actually do a story on that because the person's just like, they found a lot of minerals. Like, they didn't give us the breakdown of the minerals.
Yeah, they just talk about how great it is. Yeah. I mean, kudos to them. Yeah. And geographically, perhaps in the areas around there, I don't know where it was on the map, there's probably more of it, And I'm all for it just because I don't like relying on some of these other, especially communist countries, for that because, there's there's ramifications with that. They tend to hoard it and they bring us to our knees over it. So
yeah,
I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, that's why I didn't keep it. There just wasn't enough information on it.
Yeah,
I was like, okay. So speaking of ChatGPT and softwares and stuff, corrupted software introduced by contractors took down the FAA system. The FAA system this week, so everyone's flights were down. I thought this was pretty interesting because it's like corrupted software, probably not the case. Like, that's pretty rare to have that, even if it's a contractor. And the government, the FAA, is not working with just some third-party software that they're going to get from some company that no one's heard of. Like, it's probably going to be a really high-end software designer, right? So the idea that it's corrupted files is probably not true. This is what I think happened.
What?
So I looked into it. So the way that they work, and when you have big servers like that, like obviously it's a huge server, it's not just one computer. So they have certain redundancies. But I don't know if you've ever seen what a server room looks like, Mom, but it's like racks and racks.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Okay, so yeah, you basically have a bunch of Wi-Fi ports. Yeah. So the way you would fix them is you shut one down, and then you have to basically reboot it. That's how you would do it. That's like the layman's terms. But the redundancy is basically if something goes down, you can basically unplug it, do whatever maintenance you have to do, and plug it back in. But you usually do routine maintenance so that doesn't happen because it can cause problems. What I think ended up happening was there was like what we call a memory leak. So what that means is the RAM in the system, which has been in there for however old those servers are because they weren't doing routine maintenance, which we're finding now, like certain ones weren't maintained, right? When you have a memory leak, it's kind of like your memory is what stands for random access memory. So basically what that means in human terms is how many numbers can you memorize before you can't memorize numbers anymore. So like, you know how there's some people that can do pi to like the 1 billionth digit. So eventually your brain's gonna like it just can't take anymore. That's basically what RAM is. So when you have a memory leak, what happens is basically the RAM's supposed to keep going and reset. So it'll do a billion numbers, but then instead of keeping those numbers, it'll get rid of them and just continue. When it does the reset off the continuation, it like can't do it. It's like having like an aneurysm. And then that causes it to go, hey, we can't do anything. And you get the redundancy issue. So that server goes down. So that would make a lot more sense than, hey, we got this corrupted software, right? Because it just doesn't, that doesn't make any sense.
Why now?
I think it's a chance of, I think it was lack of maintenance. And when the RAM just finally gave up, like whatever computer server gave up, they just didn't have the redundancy. So it broke the redundancy, and that's why a bunch of parts went down. Because the way you know that if it was a real problem, all of it would go down. This was just a part of it. So that's why not every single flight and pilot didn't have a job that day or whatever. You know, like there's all the flights are cut down. If it was all of them, then we go, hey, that's a little fishy. But because it's only certain parts, you go, oh, that server went down. So I think it was a big one. It's not just one server. It was probably a whole slew of servers that went down.
So you're of the opinion that it wasn't a cyber attack?
I think it's more of a tech issue that there's certain routine maintenances that they were probably cutting corners on. And that's what caused it to go down because they said, you don't have to do maintenance because that's the only real explainable thing. Cyber attack's a tough one because if it was a cyber attack, everything would go down. I mean, everything. Like, no one would be fine.
Unless they targeted a certain thing to send a message.
That's tough because you can't when you're on a redundancy server, like let's say we had 100 redundancy servers in this. Yeah. If I attacked one, the whole thing's going to go down, right? When only a part of it goes down, that's not an attack. That means something technologically broke. So the RAM, I think the memory in the systems crashed or something in there crashed causing a part of it to go down. If you want to send a message, like if there was a hack, the whole thing would go down. We'd be having more problems than just a cyber attack. So I don't think it was.
But sometimes they just do enough damage to a little area to send a message.
Or if routine maintenance messed up. Yeah, but area-wise would be if one whole unit, which is like one whole building, went down. That's an attack. But when only part of a building goes down, that's not an attack. That's like something happened.
Right,
and
but
now
the
we're
FAA
blaming others.
Doesn't have. The FAA has regions, like it handles regions. So if you want to send a message, a water treatment plant, you could just target one and shut it down. Or a nuclear power plant, you could target one and shut it down. The FAA, you could target a region and shut it down if you wanted to send a message. Or sometimes, we
right,
they
but
hijack
it would be
the
but that's what I mean. If you were targeting someone, like obviously the FAA is everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. All country, probably in other countries too, but like probably has collaborations,
counterparts in other countries.
If the whole system went down, that would be a problem. But when only certain parts of it, so like there were still flights going, just not certain ones. if there were no flights, then I would say, okay, that sounds more like a cyber attack. When only part of it goes down, like only 100 flights out of 10,000, 100,000 flights, that might be a lot, 50,000 flights go down. That's, to me, is just a server going down, one of the servers going down, or a couple, then something's attacking us. So I think that was it's twofold. I think the people were like, oh, it's a cyber attack, when I don't think that's true. And the other half of that is the FAA going, I'm sorry. Was it the FAA that claimed that it was a cyber attack, or?
I don't remember, but
because
the FAA handles federal aviation.
Right. So I think whoever claimed it, I think that's more of a front for, hey, we just weren't doing any routine maintenance for years, and we just never kept up with the times, and everything went down.
Yeah. So
I think the hacking story makes them look a little better in the sense of, hey, we got hacked and we need to prevent it. Whereas, hey, we have 1,000, 10,000 people on staff. Someone effed up,
Well, maybe we need a Secretary of Transportation to monitor these things. Oh, yeah, we have one.
Or you just need
and
a
he was on
ChatGPT
vacation, and he mailed it in some sort of, I think that there was a problem, and we might have had a cyber attack.
That's a weird one. Yeah. So again, I don't think cyber attack's the right term for this. Like, even if it was, it would be so minor that we wouldn't hear about it. But when a bunch of stuff goes down like that sounds more like a redundancy error.
Well, I think it's something that should definitely be investigated and clarified.
Oh yeah, it should never happen again, no matter what. When
you know,
flights are on the line, people flying and traveling.
Not only that,
we've
got enough issues with people doing cyber attacks. We need to be able to distinguish between one and the other, because it's pretty sad when we're crippling ourselves now.
Yeah. Oh God.
We've gotten to that point.
Yeah. So they say corrupted software too by contractors. Again, the FAA isn't getting software from contractors. They're building it, right? The government's going to be building their own software. They're not going to rely on others unless it's a company that already works for the government. So it wouldn't make sense.
All joking aside, we have a Secretary of Transportation who should be on top of this. Don't know what the status is. Don't know what's going on. But that's a pretty important aspect. Travel and that's also commercial stuff too that gets affected, or goods going from one place to another. And
UPS flights.
That's kind of stuff that can cripple an economy.
So just so people know, it's not so much that the flights weren't taking off. It's they have systems in place that, hey, these two pilots are going to be flying this plane. These two pilots are going to be flying this. These are the stewardesses. Their system went down, which means no one knew what they went to.
We don't say stewardess anymore.
Oh, is that true? I don't even know.
It's sexist.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Why is it called a bachelor degree and not a bachelorette degree? So it's just they didn't know what flights they were going to get on because the whole system crashed. That's really what it came down to. Yeah. Like what bags go to what plane. Yeah. It's a big deal. But but that to me doesn't scream cyber attack. That screams someone effed up at the company real bad, or there was a redundancy error.
Yeah, we'll see. But you say that just because it's a tedious thing. Yeah. That could be a cyber attack. That could be somebody
I don't think
sending a
so.
message.
It doesn't make sense to be a cyber attack.
We'll see. Well,
no,
hopefully we'll see.
No, we'll never.
You're right.
No,
we
no.
probably will never find out what caused it.
Some guy fell on a cord, knocked it out. That's
could
more
be.
than enough. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Or somebody wasn't paying attention and doing his or her job.
Yeah.
And
that would be my guess.
Or they cut corners and they didn't do maintenance like they're supposed to, and all of a sudden now it's going to cost us millions of dollars because we'll need a new rule as taxpayers that you have to do a maintenance check every year.
We need more employees working.
Yeah, we're going to have more people to figure out what happened.
Yeah. You got one?
I do. Okay. Professor shows a painting of Muhammad in class, and she lost her job.
Muhammad.
Yep.
Okay.
This is from PJ Media. Adjunct professor, her name's Prater, Prater. She's an art history professor at Hamline University, and this is in Minnesota. As an aside, Minnesota's Muslim population has grown substantially over the last 5-10 years. Her syllabus said that she's going to be doing some pictures of Muhammad and Buddha and other religious figures. It's going to be shown, and she asked on the syllabus, if anyone's offended by it, they need to let her know. No one contacted her. Nobody objected.
Right.
Okay. On the day she was going to show these pictures, she asked again, if anyone's going to be offended, you could leave. No one left. She unveiled, it was called the Compendium of Chronicles. So it's in the article that you've got to post. that has pictures. You know,
It's a nice picture, yeah.
Old artwork, and some is of Muhammad. She lost her job. Okay. The complainer is a Sudanese. Her name is Ms. Wedatalla, Wedatalla. She felt threatened by it, by these pictures.
I don't. Okay, we're not Muslim, obviously. I'm looking at these pictures. I don't understand what's bad about them. They actually look like pretty cool pictures.
It's not that. The Islamic faith has traditionally said you cannot have any depiction of Allah or Muhammad. You can't draw it.
How the hell does that work?
They've never had it.
So then how do they know what he looks like?
They don't know what he looks
But
like.
he was a real person.
He was a real person. Well, Allah is their God, but this is why people have been, and mind you, people have been beheaded for showing pictures of Muhammad. What's interesting is
It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, go ahead.
the Islamic traditions, also known the hadiths, the Hadiths. It prohibits images. This has always been true of them. You can't draw a picture. A woman by the name of Pamela Geller, she's a Jewish woman. She used to be a political pundit and whatnot. She did a contest down in Texas where she had them draw pictures of Muhammad, and they just blew up at her. And she was trying to say, you know, free speech and everything else, and she got into a lot of trouble for it, whether you agree or not. What's interesting is the Quran is very vague about it. Some say there is no such Islamic rule that you can't depict Muhammad or any of the early
I would just think that
prophets.
because there's so many pictures out there of him, it wasn't a rule.
No, there's not a lot of pictures.
Really,
because
I
of
feel
that
like I've
reason.
seen a lot of drawn pictures and stuff.
Yeah, well, you're not going to see it in Muslim areas.
Right.
They don't hang them in churches. You don't find them, you know. For a while there, Christianity in the Orthodox Church, they didn't allow a lot of
What class was this for? Like, what was she?
art history.
Art history. Interesting. Now, see, I think the bigger... I don't even... It's not that I don't care, but let's take this a couple steps back. So she asked the students 3 times, are you going to be offended by this? And no one said anything.
2 times. The syllabus and the day she was actually
doing it. And then she double-checked the last day, too, I thought. It was
Yeah, on
3
the
days.
day she was doing it, she asked, I'm going to show these pictures today. If you're going to be offended, you know, you could leave.
Yeah.
No
So
harm.
yeah, this is my problem with this. The student knew this, read the syllabus. She waited for this.
Yeah.
She had it out for this teacher. That's fucked up.
That's
That's in
possible.
my opinion.
Yeah, it's very
I mean, if
possible,
you're
but-
told 2, maybe 3 times, hey, we're gonna be doing this. This is in a syllabus. It's whatever.
Right.
You should have talked about it before.
Right.
You even went to the class, or you dropped the class, or whatever you have to do. But to wait until, it's not like this was first day, it was probably a couple days in.
Right.
Well, Jan 8th, so let's assume that they started January 1st of
I
classes
don't know. It
again.
might have been last semester. I don't know.
Well, if the picture, it says here January 8th, the Chronicles or whatever. Well, either way, you still knew. So this, honestly, the student's the problem. It's not the teacher.
No, the
Again,
student is not
it's-
the problem.
You don't think so?
The university is the problem.
Oh, for firing. I mean the student had the problem with the teacher.
The university has to take a
Right.
stand and say, look, this teacher, not
Said
once,
twice,
but
3
twice.
times.
Okay?
I think it was 3. but-
If you were offended, you shouldn't have gone to class
yeah,
that day.
exactly. Agreed.
Okay? This is the problem. It's not the students, because guess what? Another Muslim student will complain about something, or another Christian, or somebody's going to complain.
Right.
Until these universities develop a backbone and stop catering to every person out there, by right, she shouldn't have had to say anything. It's an art history class. You take your chances. If she's
Yeah.
going to throw up a mocking picture of Jesus Christ and I get offended, okay, I can complain about it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, you know, and I could tell the teacher that's inappropriate. You shouldn't do it. For me to say she has to lose her job because she put up a picture that it didn't
After
make,
giving multiple warnings that this is what the picture's going to
which
be.
I didn't even think she had to do. But it goes back to
It was
these-
nice of her to do it. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes.
So that's why I mean the student's the problem in the sense of it's like cherry picking. Cherry pick the teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to your point, the school is also the problem. Like they should have taken a stand for the teacher.
Right.
Plus, don't we have teachers unions to help with that?
No, and well, she's an adjunct professor. She doesn't
Right,
have
she's not-
tenure. She doesn't
right.
have anything. But I keep going back to this is becoming the problem because the overriding authority caters to one set of people, and they keep getting their way. They will keep pushing the envelope, and they're always going to take a stand. After 2 warnings, this person still came along and said, "No, I'm offended," and the teacher got fired. Okay.
Yeah.
It has to stop. Or these small universities, Hamline University, Minnesota, they might as well close the doors.
Yeah.
What do you stand for then? If you're only going to stand for a particular group of students on their whim when they feel like it, what's to stop this student from again coming back and saying, you know what, I think art history is racist and you need to get rid of it? Are they going to cave to that too? When does it end?
Yeah.
So many of these schools, it's just, like I told you recently, USC, and it is Southern California, they banned the word field. Did I tell you this?
Field?
Yeah. So you can no longer say my field of study is communications because that's racist, the field, like the master with the field.
The reach is unbelievable.
Now, wait till you want the alternative. You'll appreciate this as a student of Latin. You have to say your practicum. Who in their right mind, and the younger generation knows what practicum means? You practice. If you so your practicum is just social media. Your field. Influencer.
But, okay, so are we not allowed to say football field anymore?
No, that's going to be
baseball
field?
Racist.
No, it's racist.
Soccer field?
Yeah. That's what I mean.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right. I think they've had to backtrack it because they're becoming nonsensical with this stuff.
I think this is the real overall issue. It's how far can we take it until we get backlash. And then when you get backlash, you go, oh, we'll take a step back. And then you're going to go forward again. Right. You're going to find something else and go forward. Right. You're seeing that with a lot of stuff right now.
In my opinion, they always call it the silent majority. There isn't enough backlash. I think for a while there, most people, I'll say Americans, but it's true all over the world, they just want to live their lives. They just want to get through their day. They don't want to fight a battle every freaking day.
If someone comes up to me and asks me, hey, what's your degree in? And I said the field of psychology, and they said something, we might be throwing some hands. These hands are bisexual, okay? Men and women can get it.
It's like, I'm insulted because you said field. It's a word.
Yeah.
And by the way, as far as I know, we still don't keep any individuals working on a field.
Billy, get out there on that football practicum.
Right? Ridiculous. But that's the joke of it. Yeah. They put a word in there that millennials don't know what practicum means. Yeah. People my age don't know what it means because nobody studied Latin. I mean, I think my age is the last year, probably one of the last few kids who does. Nobody knows what practicum means. It's not even common language. They know what a field of study is. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a reach. It's a reach to push the envelope as far as it can until someone goes, hey, until a massive amount of people go, hey, that's stupid as shit. We're not doing that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need more of that. We need more people shutting it down right at the beginning. This is ridiculous. We're not doing it. And they said, USC has become a laughing stock. And because they got so much negative attention right away, they're starting to backpedal.
Oh, yeah.
They throw this stuff out there. And, you think that school would have learned enough from all the scandals they had with the celebrities getting their kids in there, Oh, no, that's not good enough. Now they got to come back and double down with just plain stupid, right?
That's unbelievable to me. You want to give me another one? Because you have more than I do. Mine are all boring today.
What was my next one?
I'm just trying to think. Every time we do this, I always have to think of what has to be cut out and what can't, doesn't need to. And honestly, does this one just go right to Spotify?
Well, this one I thought was a good one. Spyware in Canada. This was in Breitbart.
Yeah.
The Canadian accountant, she has to repay her employer because her work hours turned out not to be true. And the reason why they knew this is because they track her work through an app on her computer. Mm-hmm. They call it cameras. I don't know if it's literally cameras, but her time theft was based on the spyware that was used. It works remotely, and it's put in for severance. She works remotely. She put in extra money for severance and unpaid wages. She was working in a job from her home, and normally you add your expenses, extra money that you should get paid for extra work you put on a project. Because people aren't doing 9 to 5 anymore in the office, right? They're working from home at their laptop. Her laptop had a time cap, it's called. It was installed to track her work. It times how long document is opened and how much interaction she has with those documents. Yeah. Okay. There are obviously differences between the app and her timesheet. I don't know what that is. So I just found that interesting that, Big Brother is watching you at home now. People are so big into, I want to work from home, I want to go to the office.
I mean, that's not the company, right? Would you say, are you pro or against that? I would think that this was an inevitability for people who are going to work at home.
I think as long as she was notified that the app was there.
Oh,
right?
She wasn't notified.
I don't know that. She might have been. They didn't make that clear. I got to believe that she did know because that would be a huge, violation of privacy, blah, blah, blah. But it's Canada too, so anything goes in Canada.
Good point.
As long as you let them know ahead of time, we're going to track, and maybe they didn't go into details about how they track it, which you don't want to give it away. You don't want somebody putting their fifth grader on the return board.
Timmy, keep hitting spacebar every 5 seconds.
Mommy's got to go.
I'll give you some candy at the end of the day. Yeah.
I got to go mow the lawn. Yeah. Just stand there. But it's a big issue. There's two schools of thought. Some people work really well from home. They're very productive. They get a lot done. And you've seen in our family as well, for those of us who work at home, you work all day. Mm-hmm. It's not 9 to 5. You could be working late at night, especially if you deal with foreign clients, right? So there's that trade-off. Other people are great in an office. They're focused. They don't have distractions. They shut their phone. They get their work done. It's almost a question of you got to do it employee by employee. Everybody has a different style. Everybody has different work methods. But that's very hard for a large company to do. And they put the burden on you to say, where do you work best? Where are you most productive? Because, most bosses, I don't care. Done, right. Yeah. Just get the work done, whether it's here at home, and don't make an issue for me. Right? I don't want to know. I don't have to track you down or make the workflow harder because you're not in the office, and vice versa. Yeah. That's all they ask. But people still cut corners, right? People still want to, they work from home, and some people don't focus when they work from home. Right. They're kidding themselves, and employment's suffering. And they've done studies, especially during the time of COVID. Productivity went down very much in this country. Unusual time. But that's why so many employers want people to start coming back to the office, and people don't want to go. Mm-hmm. So things like Twitter, right? Back to Elon said you got to come to the office because
it was like, what?
Right. And that cut a huge chunk of the workforce right there, because it's unfortunate, but we've trained a lot of young workers that you can work from home. Yeah, some people can and be extremely productive. I'm skeptical of the younger generations. I think they're getting too soft. I think
I've seen pictures of kids dark in the room so they look like a shadow, like there's something in the shadow that looks like a person, and they just go sleep. So it looks like they're in the Zoom class, but they're not. Like that's pretty common. Yeah. Or they do a still frame image that looks like them.
But you know what? When it comes to that, though, they're cheating themselves only because they're paying for that.
Oh, yeah.
In theory, they are. Their family, but they are.
But
an employer's paying you to do work.
Yeah,
that's a difference.
They're not paying you to work for free, obviously. But I wonder if there's an extreme of people that are too productive at home, and then they don't want to do the extra work. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you have your company gives you a full 8 hours of work in a day, and you're finishing in 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Do you get the next 4 hours off? But because then, if you don't, then it's like, well, I'm not going to be as productive anymore if I'm just going to do 8 hours of work anyway.
Well, I'm old school. I like an office. I don't want to bring my work home. I prefer to get my work done in one space and come home and shut work off. Yeah. I'm old school that way. And if I have to stay late at work, I'll stay late. If I have to go in on a weekend, I'll go in on a weekend. I like separate territory. Other people, and I think the wave nowadays, like every home has a home office now. Yeah. That was not common when I was younger, but there's always this a parent, maybe both, who are working at some point from home. Right. Nothing wrong with that. I just have always found that I work better. Now, I didn't have all the conveniences, and I use that term loosely, of Zooming, conferencing,
My mom
phones.
had pigeons back in the day.
No, I mean, we had our bare minimum, but, we didn't have the...
Get this to the boss.
Yeah.
Go, Blue Jay.
The level of computers and we have... I don't know if that's a good thing from COVID, but we've introduced a new thing of Zooming, of doing conferences online.
People realize that you can do a lot more. Right. Or I wouldn't say a lot more. I would say that it's kind of another example of what we kind of talked about in the beginning, as the companies are a little behind in the sense of companies thought that all the work had to be done at the office because all of our computers are there. They didn't realize that nowadays anything that you could do on computers there, you could do on a laptop here. Right. Like if you go into any office, like any... let's just say like any telecom office or anyone doing selling something, it's all like Dell laptop computers that you see at schools. Yeah. Right? We have more powerful stuff here. That's why most people work on laptops.
Well, and it also helps, the flip side of that, some people like to travel. Yep. And they go see customers for everything. Well, now we realize you don't have to do that. Yeah. That's a huge savings for a lot of companies. It's very expensive to ship people around the country. Mm-hmm. But there is also that aspect of, sometimes you do have to physically be with other people.
Yeah, there's a social aspect to it as well, getting to know your team.
But not only social, too. You could only get so much from a computer. And I think it's always good for employees, whether you're a boss or an employee, to interact with your superiors and subordinates and your equals from time to time. Well, people that work for you, if you're a boss.
With the whip.
Yeah, right. I mean, you have to. There's a lot to be said for that. You never really know somebody until you spend some time, and also to do it outside of work. Not that I'm saying you have to socialize with people from work, but every once in a while, if you work with somebody on a constant basis, even if it's Zoom, to get out of the work environment, even if it's just to have lunch at the office, it kind of brings new dimensions to your work relationship.
Yeah.
Maybe makes it easier, more seamless, whatnot. So there's pluses and minuses to both, but, people used to get out of doing work right in the office too. They found ways to cut quarters to look busy in their cubicle, or they'd hide in their cube and, they thought they were being busy and they weren't.
Yeah.
There are ways to
you're always going to have good workers and bad workers, whether in the home or not.
Right.
Right? Whether it's home. Yeah. It really just depends on who you're hiring. Right?
Well, and it was just easy to identify them when you could see them.
Right.
When you walked around and saw them, because you don't necessarily go on a Zoom call and say, hey, what are you up to? And the person's there.
Well, think about how, remember is it quarterly reviews? Like, think of how those must have drastically changed. We don't do those, but as far as I know, I don't know if
a lot of big companies, they'll do an annual.
Yeah, usually it's annual, right?
Right before you get a raise.
But so it's tough because I think a lot of that's, I'm sure they talk literally everything with you if it's annual, but
yeah, you go through
if
results.
you had a home office, they're only seeing whatever they see on Zoom. They don't see what you walking the dog at 2 p.m.,
right,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I wonder how drastically those have changed since the beginning of COVID.
Well, all I know is I remember them doing a study after COVID ended and saying it's many corporations saying we can see that we're not as efficient when people work from home. That's a fact. So, and also it was because everybody was working from home. Like we said, some people can't work from home and be productive. They need to go. But, something so simple as I can remember going to the store, 5-10 years ago? Well, I shouldn't say this, but it was always the case 5 years ago. You didn't pull out a cell phone, even if you're a cashier. They knew. And you would see the kids or the young people sneak in their cell phones, right, when they were supposed to not do that. Now it's out all the time. It's just like we've caved and realize you can't fight it. They have their cell phone out all the time. Okay?
Well, the excuses you can make for it. It's like, well, I'm here for business or whatever. Like, I remember when I was a lifeguard at that lake, there's a kid that would be on the stand with his phone at all times.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's summer lifeguarding, and you're in a lake. It's not like you're doing the texting and looking at the same time, so it's not that big. But when you think about it, lives are on the line there.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So to do, and no one said anything even at that time, and that had to be 10 years
Mike,
ago.
your brother, this past summer at the Y, to their credit, they were not allowed cell phones, and they would be written up if somebody was caught.
Which is funny because the YMCA allows cell phones in the gym, and it makes me so mad.
Right.
The amount of kids, mother, that we talk about this every day whenever I'm there. The amount of kids that you'll go up to, it's always the college kids when they're home. Fuck those college kids. They go. We have at our Y, we have a really nice Y actually, but there's not a lot of I'm itchy.
Just
sorry.
stop.
It's called.
I don't know, but
I'm throwing up gang signs, Mom. The amount of kids that you're like, hey, can I work in with you, like do a set or something? And they're like, oh, I got one more set left, and you go, okay, that's fine, and then they just go right to their cell phone and they're on it for 5-10 minutes. My big friend John, the one with all the tattoos, he actually owns this company. Shout out to
Uncaged Fitness.
Yeah, Uncaged.
Sponsors.
Some guy. This is John's on a lot of steroids. Okay, so John's got a little roid rage, but we love John. No, he's open about it. He goes. Some guy was just on his phone. John asked him, "Hey, can I work in?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I got one more set." The guy took 15 whole minutes on his phone, and John goes, "Can I get that set in?" The guy goes, "I'm almost done." John goes, "No. Get up or I'm going to break your jaw."
Yeah, that's not right. That's not right.
Luckily he knows everyone at the gym, so he didn't get in trouble. But I mean, the cell phones, I think, in every aspect are getting out of hand. That's basically what I'm trying to say from that
they
story.
should not be allowed
the amount of
on
people,
equipment if it's slowing somebody else down.
I completely agree. Yeah.
You go to the side. It's the gym.
Even in work, I don't think you should have your cell phone out.
No,
like that.
Well,
one thing that I have this problem too, because I always tell myself whenever I watch stuff back, like especially live streams, I'm on my phone way too much when I'm doing my live streams. Like there's a lot of lull periods.
Yeah.
Given most games now have 10-minute load times, and what else am I supposed to do? But Like, there are certain times where I want to put my phone away, but also I'm always getting messages now as notifications and stuff. So
It's an absolutely addictive, and I don't mean that as like silly, because I understand people think they need their phone. You do not need your phone. Nobody needs their phone.
I think you should always have it on you, but I don't think you have to be sitting on
I'm
it.
telling you, as human beings that grew up for the majority of our lives and all generations before us, we did not have a cell phone, and we got through life just fine. This is ridiculous, the level that all of us, myself included, that all of us feel we have to have that cell phone. You don't have to. It's not a medical necessity. Having said that, it's not outrageous for an employer to say, and it's sad that we have to say it, put your phone away. Shut it off.
Yeah.
Put it on
There's
your
a time
lunch
and a
break.
place, right? There's a time and a place to be using it.
Right.
In the middle, you're not going to see a NASCAR driver pull out his phone mid-lap, right? Same thing.
We went that route with cigarette breaks. You couldn't smoke in a building. Okay, people wanted to smoke. You could take a cigarette break. You went outside and you had your cigarette.
Yeah.
Same principle should be applied to cell phones.
I know some companies that have cell phone breaks.
Right, and that's fine if
too.
people really feel it. But, I equate it to the school with the kids where they took it away. Kids were bothered at first. It was mainly the parents who were upset. I'm sorry, your parents don't, and I'm speaking as a parent, you do not need to reach your child 24/7.
Right, the argument, though, was because at that time, remember, the school shootings were through the roof. Like, there was like 3 shootings every week.
What do you think you're going to do in a school shooting?
But I'm saying that's what the argument was. The argument was, hey, I need to reach my child during a school shooting. Right? It's like, is it happening?
And what do you think is going to happen if you do that in a school? What do you think you're going to do? Talk to a 5-year-old out of school? Say your last
It was always the
goodbyes?
ones, let's say that there was that shooting in, what was it, Arizona, Uvalde. The schools around it. Yeah, Texas, yeah. The schools around it wanted their kids to have their cell phones on them at all times, just in case something happened. But to your point, like, what are you going to do? Like, someone's going to call 911 before any of your kids do it.
That is not what makes the difference in a school shooting.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, it's just, it would not be the end of the world. And by the way, we had fewer school shootings at a time when kids didn't have cell phones. Not saying there's a correlation, but people got through life without having to reach their kid through every crisis. And that's when we had, nuclear wars and kids had to hide, threat of it. Kids would hide under their desk and have practice every day, right? I mean, we've had
and
crises
yet
in the past.
And yet when those practices do happen, they never go as planned. Like the fire drill,
right?
Like, your kids end up running out anyway. We've had that a couple times. So.
But it's just my point is the level of distractions for human beings in general is getting scary. Because people are now acting, and I'm not just saying kids, I'm not saying young people, I see it with adults too. We've gotten to the point where, we can't live without a cell phone. We can't live without it. We can't live without some sort of electronics. I'm going to say cell phones because not everybody walks around with computers. Where they can't even work at a cash register without the phone right there next to them. And there's nothing important coming on that phone for a 15, 16-year-old kid that mom and dad has to
use it from the calculator for when I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty common. All right, what is this? New Jersey congressman demands to know what is happening with beached whales?
Whales on the beach, yeah.
Really?
Yes, 7 dead whales have shown up on the beach in the last 2 months. This is Van Drew. He's down there in South Jersey. He thinks it could be the offshore wind projects. We've got all these wind turbines out in the water. How that would affect the whales, I don't know. He's not even sure.
Wow, they're really up there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at this picture. This is just the thumbnail for the video. Yeah. He's not even close to the water.
Van Drew wants more research done. So, maybe it's that. Maybe it's some sick people dragging these. I don't know.
There's no way you're dragging a whale.
Right.
You know how hard it is to drag a whale?
But
even
for
a
them
baby
to get
whale?
that high up, they must be coming in during high tide and, low tide leaves it. I don't know, but it brings a good point. That's a lot of whales in a short amount of time. What's changed? He says the wind turbines were so quick to jump into these green things.
Well, I wonder what the wind turbines would do. Like, why would it bring them closer?
I don't know. Well, they sit in the water, right? Those giant fans. So the base maybe creates some sort of vibration that's affecting the whales and the sea life. I don't know. But that's to his point. We stick these things out there thinking we're helping the environment.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, nobody's doing the research on the animals that are affected by it. I think there's a picture of the wind turbines in that article.
Yeah, I only see I don't see yeah.
So
interesting.
they must be anchored deep into the bottom of the ocean, and maybe they create wave effects, or maybe they create a vibration down below. I don't know, but I just think it's funny for all these individuals that are so into the environment. They stick these freaking ugly things in the middle of the ocean. You know, I mean,
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know why. Well, I'm not gonna figure it out, obviously, but like it's kind of wild that 7. If it keeps going up, then I go okay, but 7 in however long the span is.
yeah, and I don't think it's just New Jersey. They've had it in
It
New
says
York
New
as
York
well.
too. It says New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, I don't know about further up the coast, but that's a good question.
Same
It's not
spot
happening
too, right?
further up. Do they have the wind turbines up off of Cape Cod? Do they have them off of Connecticut? Maybe that's why, that could point back to, a correlation with the wind turbines going. So,
Let's see.
anyhow.
I got another short one. Big 180. Avatar 2 has beaten Marvel's biggest movie.
Okay.
Right? Now, this is why I bring up this article. Now, when this is why I struggle with any factual information anymore, especially when it comes to numbers. And maybe this is true. Like, I don't know what it says by beating it. Like, I think it says money-wise or how much it's grossed. When Marvel came out, like whatever one it was, people would not shut up about it. Like, in the sense, I'd go to the gym, kids were talking about it, adults were talking about it.
Right.
Everyone I knew, it was like, which one are we going to see? Like, we got a couple movie theaters around us, and everyone's like, we're going to this one, AMC, whatever. I haven't heard of a single person I know see Avatar 2. I got a lot of friends.
Mike.
Did Mike see it? I don't even know if he saw it.
And
but,
I quote, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty good.
okay, I'll take that, but like,
That was his
but like,
comment.
I haven't heard, like, when Marvel movies come out, and I don't know if it's different, but the amount of people would literally not shut up about it to the point where I was like, I don't even want to see this anymore. Yeah. I have yet to have anyone, except for Michael, apparently. I don't know anyone who's raved about this.
Well,
so
Mike
far
didn't say it was better than Marvel.
Michael will never say that. But like that. But I just remember the movie
he didn't
theaters.
See the first one, the Avatar, the first
yeah.
one, right? So
yeah, was he? How old was he? Like
he
5.
Little, yeah. I didn't even make it through the whole first one.
Yeah,
I mean, it was visually appealing,
cool,
but I just
but
didn't care about that much.
But I just remember when the latest Marvel movie came out. I think it was the last one. I don't know if that's the biggest one, but let's pretend it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if it's not, which would, we looked up multiple movie theaters. We couldn't get seats. Like, remember, it was like we have to figure out which one. They're like, hey, it's the highest grossing one. Everyone wants to see it. No one's talked about it at the gym. No one's talked about it when I'm out.
Yeah.
No one talks about it.
It's no Top Gun, okay? It's no Top Gun.
It's unbelievable. Like, even Top Gun, everyone was going to see it. And they're like, oh, this is like the #1 movie. So where are these numbers coming from? I'm not... Is it just New Jersey that hasn't seen it?
I don't know, but sometimes it's timing. It came out during a holiday. There was no competition. People want to go to the movies, and there's nothing else to see.
Apparently,
so
January is notoriously bad for movies. Like, all the worst movies come out in January. I didn't know that. I heard that from like a huge movie buff and a bunch of movie buffs. Yeah. Actually, I think I heard that on Corridor Crew, which is a big YouTube channel.
I know there's a timing issue with the Academy Awards. If you want to get an Oscar, it has to be in by a certain time. You have to release it by a certain time, and when you win that, you tend to make more money, gross more money out of it. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But
and I'm not saying it's a bad movie or anything. It might be the best movie of all time, but I don't know anyone that's talking about it. I have yet to see
he's already
anyone.
planned a third and a fourth.
I know, and I knew that, but I'm like, okay, I'm glad it did well, but no one's told me anything about it. Yeah. Again, I'm pretty social. I'm talking to people about everything, especially at the gym.
Yeah.
No one has mentioned seeing Avatar 2.
Right.
So I'm like, how is this beating out Marvel, which people would not shut, like, clips for days, for months on TikTok, like just this scene, the famous meme of Thanos fighting in the big scene of all the Avengers and fighting whatever the evil bad guy is. I haven't seen a single clip of Avatar 2. I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a single clip.
I've seen some of them, but it's more about the.
I would be scrolling through TikTok for Marvel, and I couldn't get rid of it.
Well,
and now
I
don't see anything on Avatar 2.
A lot of the comments were that the visuals are incredible, the graphics incredible, story, no big deal.
Yeah, it's the same as the first one I've heard. Right. Cool, but it's like you're gonna tell me this beat out Marvel
Oh, it'll probably
like
win an
I don't know
Oscar
what
or
it is.
something.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Avatar that people like so much. Again, great that it did well. I'm maybe they're not lying. I don't think, even if they're, well, how do I put this? I'm not
Stretching
denying
the
it.
truth.
Yeah, I'm not denying it, but it's just wild to me how I've seen
Right.
nothing and heard nothing, and they're like, it's bigger than Marvel,
Right.
which I couldn't get out of my feed. I still get Marvel stuff on my feed.
Well, I think
And I
I
don't
would
even
hope
follow 'em all.
the takeaway we're all getting in this generation this time that we're living in is sometimes don't go by what you read. Pick up your head and look around and look at the reality. I think a lot of people are starting to understand you can't always go by what you read. You're right. Whoever said that, back that up, right? Because I'm not hearing about it wherever I go. I don't see it on the TV. I don't even see it advertised anymore on TV. The Marvels I'd hear for a while.
Yeah.
Top Gun I still see advertised. It's streaming now, but I take everything with a grain now. It's all marketing. People
I
can say whatever they want
truthfully
to.
think it is.
Right.
I like the amount of, I remember growing up, the amount of movies that was like #1 hit or whatever.
Yeah.
Like every single one was a #1 American hit. It's like out of what? Does everyone get this award?
Right. You're right. And that's becoming, people started to realize that. Everyone was the best and wonderful. What I thought funny was somebody, no, that was it for me. I did have one breaking fourth. You mentioned you want to talk about Biden.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but they've had a fourth discovery.
Yeah. So this definitely can't go on YouTube. We'll have to cut.
Yeah. Right.
I only have one more article. We're gonna do a full 180. Again, that one's gonna be on Spotify because I don't think YouTube's gonna be happy with us. But I just have one gaming news. So one of the big things that happened actually today, Ubisoft cancels 3 big games, and they pushed forward their new game Skull and Bones to what looks like end of the year or early next year, which is great to hear in January when it was supposed to come out last month. Right? So the problem with this is Ubisoft stock tanked today, like hard. And
Skull and Bones is coming out next year?
Yeah, so they're going to push it end of this year or the next year because apparently it wasn't ready. So Skull and Bones, I kind of feel bad for people that like sailing games. One of the biggest games, I wouldn't say biggest anymore, but there's a game called Sea of Thieves where basically it's like you're finding actual buried treasure. It's pretty cool. Problem is it's just such a hassle. Yeah. Like you're actually sailing the seas for hours with your friends and it's just water. You're like, oh, this sucks.
Avatar.
It sucks. Yeah. Kenny and Johnny wanted to play it and I was like, man, this is boring. Yeah. So Skull and Bones.
It's different though.
It is. Yeah, there's not too many sailing games. I'll sell if you're into that. Like that's probably the best game out there.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the better version of that, like the updated version, Skull and Bones. But this is the 6th time they've pushed it, which is nuts. The last game that they had was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which came out in 2019. That was their last big game. I don't know where they're getting their money. Obviously, Ubisoft's a huge company. It's one of the big AAA companies, so it's not like they're financially going bankrupt.
Yeah, I do see that a lot.
Yeah, and they do a couple of other things. I'm actually not sure what they do besides games, but I mean, Rainbow Six is their biggest one, I believe. I don't think they have any other multiplayer games. But either way, I don't know what they're going to do because it's, 3 big games, which in my opinion aren't that big, like Dance Dance Revolution, apparently is pretty big. I guess it makes a lot of money. I don't know, but that and the Mario.
Oh, yeah. Dance Dance Revolution, those were always big.
Yeah, but I didn't realize, I knew it was big back in the day. I didn't realize it was still big.
Do it.
I guess, but to me, that's not a big game, but like, So the company lowered its financial predictions from $891 million to $725 million. So over $100 million they've lost just off canceling these games. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. The company's depreciating $500 million in research and development. So they're just basically like, hey, we're not even going to bother putting money into these anymore. So what do you do when you haven't had a game in 3 years now? No, 4 years now.
Yeah.
Well, going on 4. And you just can't, or you just push back your game another year. So it's going to be a full 4 years without a new game.
Right.
So I don't know why they're doing that. Like, I don't know what the mindset is. You can't. It's not like these games weren't ready. You did all the planning and everything's already starting to be built. You're going to lose that money, that whatever you've put into it already. So I don't know why they would cancel these. And then, like, I don't know what the motive is.
It's just too expensive for them to continue.
It's not like they don't have the money, though. I guess the reason you would cancel is because prediction-wise, you know that the game's not going to do as
Yeah,
well
not
as
gonna
the
make as
money
much
you're going to put in.
Right.
Right. And you can make the argument that now the games are getting more expensive to make. And games are going up to the $80 price point, 60 to 80. Those games, Dance Dance Revolution is not worth $80, but
Right.
my guess is that's the justifiable price, and they were like, it's not worth it. No one's going to buy it. Trust me, they don't have a problem raising the prices on games, but they know they're not going to make their money back. That's the issue. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their hearts.
I don't mind Dance Dance Revolution. It gets people moving.
Yeah, but it's actually Just Dance is the game.
Oh, Just
I think
Dance.
Dance Dance Revolution is the one that you see at the arcade.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they did have a home version. I think.
Yeah,
they
that's
did,
Just
but-
Dance.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Just
you can get the pad. You can get the Just Dance pad and plug it into like a PS2 or whatever. But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know why they went out of their way for that. Like, canceling these games that were probably going to be their only moneymakers in the last 3 years. Not a good look. Not a good look for them at all. But besides that, we can go right into podcast questions. We actually had 2. But I can't even answer one because Deductions asked, how do you feel about the future of esports and these organizations heading into 2023 with the upcoming titles we're expecting? Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Henry, because I know Henry. I know I play like a professional. I know you watch me and you go, you're like a professional. I don't pay attention to any esports. I couldn't name a single team anymore. When I was growing up, I was a little more into it, but the only person I know is that Tens kid who plays Valorant. That's literally it. So it's very hard for me to answer this. I don't think that there's any real titles coming out that...
Street Fighter.
That's a common one.
Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash is a big one,
Marvel
too.
versus Capcom.
I don't think those are going to... I don't know what the esport titles are going to be. It's going to be Valorant and Call of Duty again. I know the guy that I grew up on, Scump, just retired. But that's it. That is literally the entire extent of my knowledge of professional sports.
I can give you the best esport games for 2023.
Let's see. Let's see what they are. You're actually going to teach me something on gaming here because I really don't know.
Battle Royale. We picked our
Fortnite's got to
favorites.
be in there.
They're gonna be Apex Legends,
Yeah, that makes sense. So Apex.
Call of Duty Warzone 2.0,
Yeah.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive,
Which has been in the pool for 10 years now.
Dota 2,
That's like League of Legends. League of Legends is probably going to be in there.
Dragon Ball Fighter C,
That's surprising.
Fortnite. I've only got a 3.5 though.
What is this a score of? Like, what are they? Are they just
The
naming
PC
games?
Editor's Choice. This is from PC Mag.
But what's the title? Like, these are the esports to look out for, or what's
the best for 2023.
the best esports for
The
2023?
best esport games for 2023 according to PC Magazine.
That's fair. That's interesting. Dragon Ball Z is going to be on there. That'd be cool if there's a ESL for, or Pro League, Pro Team for Dragon Ball.
They didn't rate the first two, but like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, they give that a 4.0.
Yeah, that game's been around since that was the first game I ever got on PC.
Dota 2 gets a 4.5. Dragon Ball Z Fighter 4.0.
A little side note: I played League last night with. I'm not a big League player, which is kind of like Dota. Dota's actually some people argue the harder version, but I gotta show you what a League game looks like. You won't have a clue what's going on.
Yeah,
It's wild.
but
I did have fun last night. I didn't want to admit to Matt and Dave last night, but I was having a little bit of fun. I'm a Blitzcrank main.
Dragon Ball
Sport.
Fighter Z is $59.99 at the Humble Bundle.
Oh yeah, so that means it's probably 60.
Fortnite got a 3.5.
Fortnite's been kind of struggling lately, not in the sense of player base, but no one's really playing it professionally anymore in the scene. As far as I know. Again, I'm kind of talking out my ass here because I don't follow professional sports at all.
The King of Fighters, 15.
It's got to be a fighting game. I've never even heard of that.
These are all fighter. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not all. 4.0, $59.99 at Steam. And League of Legends, 4.5.
LOL.
Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, that's pretty old now. Mortal Kombat's been
4.5.
around a while. You know what Mortal Kombat is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you grew up on that. That would have been your age.
Overwatch 2, 3.5.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 is not going to do too well anymore. I think Overwatch is on borrowed time because Overwatch 2 was a reskin of Overwatch 1.
This one's PUBG.
PUBG. That's
Player
another one.
Unknown's
See,
Battleground.
this is kind of what I maybe again. I might just be out of the loop, but I don't believe that these games have that big of a following anymore. I think the only ones that really matter are League of Legends. Valorant's going to be on there. CS:GO definitely, and even that, I feel like from a competitive standpoint, I don't even hear much about. Like the way my only like contact with this is what my friends say, and they're pretty in the loop with ESL Sports. I don't see them mentioning CS:GO or these fighting games. They really only mention League of Legends, Valorant, and Call of Duty. That's really
Well, let me just say, Rocket League.
Rocket League's fairly big. I would
It's
consider
got a 4.5, and it's $19.99 at
Used to be
Humble
free
Bundle.
back in the
Humble
day.
Bundle.
Yeah.
So
The learning curve of that game, Mother, is, I mean, like Rocket League is basically soccer with cars, right? And you got like a jet boost, right? It's fun. It's so much fun, right? But you get to a
I'm
point.
gonna drive a car and hit a soccer ball at the same time.
It's fun. It's fun.
Too much work.
It's not as hard as you think, but when you get to a certain level in that, there are kids that have figured out that you can like fly and hit the ball.
Oh
it's,
my
it's
gosh.
not even. I look at that and I go, "Oh, okay, we're good."
I used to do like in television with Dad or whatever the thing he had.
Yeah.
And it was football. And it was like, to kick the ball, you got to go A, B, 2, 1, 1.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Just to kick the ball? Then to advance the players, you got to go, I'm making this up, but it's like 3B, 3B, 3B.
These guys probably don't even know what the Intellivision was. That was like the 80s.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
Activision.
again, I'm sorry that I can't really answer this, but
Samurai
if I was
Showdown.
to answer
StarCraft, you mentioned StarCraft.
Yeah, StarCraft's
Street
a tough
Fighter
one.
5, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Well, I'll tell you this
Tekken
before you
7.
keep going. I'm not watching any of these. I'm just going to go by what my friends say. So, again, I can't really I can't unless I'm doing 1v1s in Hogwarts Legacy next month. I don't even want to hear it. I'm excited for Hogwarts. I'm gonna get. Mom, what hat do you think I'm gonna get? What
Oh
school?
my God,
what
stop.
school? Well,
Stop.
I did the pre-order today for the Pegasus.
You got to get the
I got the Dark Arts too. I got the deluxe edition.
what was that comedy one? Child Pedophile House?
Yeah, that was
House of
it's
Pedophile?
Peter. Alan sent it to me last night. It's Peter Griffin. Getting his house. They put the hat on the head. It's like, this is what's going to House of Sexual Assault or whatever.
You gotta edit that out, please.
So the only other question, this is complete curveball, complete opposite. Blue Ninja asked, what do you think about veganism, vegetarianism, meat-only diets, and diet consisting of raw eggs, raw milk, and raw beef? That's kind of a loaded question, but so my mother doesn't know this. I don't like to admit it, but when I was in college, I actually tried doing vegetarianism and veganism for like probably 4 months. So mainly because I was too lazy to get food my junior year because we were playing Rainbow Six. I hated it. I did it for 4 months, and here's my thing with vegetarianism. First off, you're not getting the proteins that you need. Unless you're supplementing, you feel like shit all the time. Like, anyone who says otherwise is just a liar. And when you're lifting all the time, there's just not enough protein and energy to lift. So I was always injuring myself.
You have to clarify to the person asking the question. A lot of it has to do with what the person's lifestyle is.
Like
right?
I was working out all the time, but like there's a kid on TikTok who he and his girlfriend or wife or whatever, they're vegetarian and they're always doing these vegetarian diets.
Yeah.
It's funny to look at because the kid just looks tired all the time. He's trying to put on a smile. He's rail thin, like no muscle whatsoever. He's like, I really enjoy this diet, and he can barely stay awake. So, to my mom's point, it definitely depends on your lifestyle.
Right.
With a vegetarian diet, for me personally, again, I'm not a nutritionist.
Right.
I know a lot of people that do these diets, and I am in the fitness world. I've been in it for freaking 20 years now. With vegetarianism, if you're not exercising all the time, like I am, like say you exercise once or twice a week, maybe 3 times, you might be able to get away with it if you're just doing cardio and light exercises. But if you're training heavy, you're not going to vegetarianism is not going to work for you. It just won't. So when you go, oh, well, Kai Green's a bodybuilder and he's a vegetarian. Yeah, but he's supplementing everything, not to mention steroids, which everyone knows he's on.
Right.
So, and I think he's open about it. I'm not sure, but he is. Sorry. But again, when you're supplementing stuff, then yeah, you can get away with it. But it obviously depends on what you're going for. But vegetarianism for me doesn't work. I doubt it's going to work for anyone who has the lifestyle that I have of going to the gym always and only lifting heavy. So,
well, just to clarify too, Americans in general, people in general, we eat too much beef or too much meat.
Yeah, there's
We
something to
don't
that.
eat as much that we do, but we've been raised on this concept of, you have to have meat and a starch and a vegetable every night. That's not necessarily
but we were
true.
also raised that that cereal is a healthy breakfast. Right?
Cereal can be a healthy breakfast, but not the junk, right? There's
No,
some very
cereal's always
healthy-
been bad for you.
Oatmeal is very good. You need fiber.
Too much carbs.
You need fiber in your system. Point being, okay, there's nothing wrong. A person can be a vegan. But a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm a vegan," and they just eat tofu and certain things.
Yeah, you can't survive
A real
off that.
vegan knows how to introduce proteins. They
Da-
know how
Dave's
to...
actually so Dave. For those of you that don't know Dave, because Dave and I don't really stream together that much. We play too many different games. But he's, I mean, Dave's open about his steroid use, but he's vegetarian. He's been vegan or vegetarian for like the last 5 years. He's in great shape, but he'll tell you he's got to supplement everything.
Yeah, there's a difference between vegan and vegetarian.
Yeah, I forget which one.
Yeah,
I think he's
something-
vegan. Like I think he could do eggs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can ask him in a couple minutes. But
So to say, you can't do one or the other, if you choose to do it, you got to do it right. Now, I showed you that picture that somebody had of the girl from Emma Watts and this other girl that I didn't know. How different they look from 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emma Watts, it was a bad picture of her, but she's incredibly skinny. She's a vegan, supposedly. This other girl's supposedly vegan. She looked like, so maybe she's in her early 20s. She looked like she was in her 40s. Okay? Could have been a bad picture of her. I don't know. But in my opinion, a lot of, especially young ladies that are vegans or just strict vegetarians, I don't think they're doing it right in the sense that they always look pale. They always their eyes look sunken.
yeah, because you're not supplementing what you need, right?
Right.
You're not getting the vitamins and stuff. Like even though red meat you shouldn't be eating every single day or whatever,
Right.
there's still certain vitamins and minerals in there that your body needs.
Yes.
So when you're not getting it and you don't know how to supplement, like Dave knows how to supplement. He takes a slew of supplements every day. So if you're not supplementing, you're going to look like Emma Watson. Whereas
Right,
Dave
and
is about as big as I am.
A lot of young women suffer from anemia when they're,
Yeah,
especially
that's a
winter
big one.
months.
Yeah,
And if you're not
low
having
in iron,
protein,
that's another one.
Right, and to do that right in reality, you're eating all the time to make up for the foods that
Yeah,
you're.
you
and I
gotta
don't know a lot
see
of people that wanna eat
how
all day
much
long.
broccoli it takes to get like one full day of eating in, like calories wise. It's insane.
Right.
So
Well, just the normal American pyramid, which, as we're finding, is a joke. They lied to us about what's considered the healthy
Right.
FDA's pyramid. But you're supposed to have 7 servings of fruits and vegetable a day to be quote unquote healthy.
yeah, I don't know if that's.
I don't know any person, and we've got family members that are big into fruit and vegetables. 7 a day is a lot of fruit and vegetables to be eating all day long.
The
And
only
it's
people
very
that eat multiple
expensive,
times
too.
a day like that are really people who are bodybuilders. Like they're eating 6-7 times a day.
Right,
The
and
average
they're eating
person doesn't have
proteins,
time to
they're
do that.
eating-
That's their
right.
job, right? So, for me personally, and I would say if someone came up to me and said what diet I should do, the last one I'm going to say is vegetarian. Unless there's like a doctor approved reason, like medical reason that you need to do vegetarian.
Yeah.
That's the only time I would say do vegetarian. Other than that, meat only diets.
No, nothing to excess.
There's certain people, like Jordan Peterson's a great example. He's been on carnivore diet for like 10 years now, but because of a medical issue, him and his daughter, right? So meat only diets I wouldn't say are obviously nothing's the best, but we have something called keto. And here's the thing about keto. Keto works incredibly well, right? So for people that don't know what ketogenic diet is, it's basically low or no carb diets, otherwise carnivore most of the time. You can have other stuff, but the problem with keto, as my mom knows, it's the diet plan for it's kind of annoying because it's either only meat and then you have to like look at your carb intake. Most people just do carnivore now because you don't have to really think about it. Like you don't have to be reading stuff. You just know meat and chicken. That's really it. Now the problem with meat diet or the carnivore diet.
and then there's your brother who will eat the same thing literally
That's
every
that's
day.
the bodybuilding mentality. Yeah.
No, when he was on keto, he
Yeah,
ate the
that's what
same
you
thing
do.
every day.
My
You
friend-
could do that, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but for some people, that's very, very boring.
My friend Dave, different Dave at my gym, he's in college right now. He's only had chicken and rice every day for the last like 4 years, and he's jacked. So like some people, again, it works. It's a
Yeah.
good carb source. You're getting your carb and but that's
So
not
you gotta
keto.
have a vegetable, or you gotta supplement
Yeah,
a
I think
vegetable.
he probably
you
has
gotta get those
broccoli and
vitamins
stuff,
and
but-
minerals. It's very
yeah.
important.
So with keto, and I've done keto multiple times, it works very well. Here's what I say about keto, and this is the God honest truth. Keto works incredibly well. The problem is you can't do it for long periods of time because the body needs to be able to almost like lubricate itself, and it does that by using fibers and the stuff you're going to get out of vegetables. With that, if you don't take those in, your organs actually start hardening and shutting down. Some people can it's completely body based, like Tyson Fury, the best boxer in the world, arguably to ever live. He did it for like 2 years and he didn't have any organ damage or any problems. That's pretty rare. We're talking. Let's not compare ourselves to freak athletes, right?
Yeah. My friend's nephew was in the hospital.
Yeah,
from doing keto. Lost a lot of weight, but he was as sick as a dog.
The beauty about keto is that it works incredibly well, but the downside that no one really talks about is the brain craves carbohydrates. So after a certain amount of time, the brain goes, "I need this." And that's it saying, hey, my organs are going to start shutting down soon. I need you to get some carbs in. The brain craves those carbs. And what ends up happening is when you break that diet, the body doesn't know what to do with the carbs. So it ends up storing them a lot more than using them for energy, which is usually what most your like everyday activities are going to use. That's why you need certain levels of carbohydrates, unless you're on keto, of course. So you end up putting the weight back on much faster than you took it off because the body doesn't know what to do with that new carbohydrates that you're putting in. So that's why 9 times out of 10 people burn through, like they'll do a keto diet, lose 20 pounds, and then they end up putting back 18, sometimes more than 20. And that's the downside of keto. With raw eggs, raw milk, and raw beef, which I'm assuming you mean someone like the Liver King. The truth is, that's an incredibly expensive diet because it is...
Even keto. Keto's very expensive to eat that much beef.
Raw is even more expensive because...
You're doing it multiple times a day, and that's...
No. It has to do with... You have to have some very, very organic meat to be able to eat anything raw.
That's right.
Because even if you go to the store, you still have to cook out raw meat because there is a good chance, I shouldn't say good, there's a fair chance that the meat that you get will have worms or whatever. There's certain bacteria that needs to be cooked out. So I will never recommend a raw diet to someone unless... You live on a farm and you know what you're doing with your cattle. That's about it.
The vet told me
then I'd go,
when our dog was a puppy and the raw diets were just coming into favor with the animals, she even said to me at the time, she goes, we don't advocate a raw diet.
It's so dangerous.
Because we don't know what's in it. You know, it's not controlled. And she didn't say, it's bad per se, but she says we just don't advocate that because you got to know what you're giving your animal.
You don't know what's in
there.
There's testing involved when it's in a store, whether you agree with the factory farming or buying organic or non-organic. There's still checks and balances to make sure that those are safe to eat, no matter what grade the beef is. So raw diets, because of that reason, there's not too many studies on raw diets. No. The only person we know is Liver King, and he owns a farm. He raises his cattle himself. He gets them checked. Guy's a multi-hundred millionaire. So he's got the financials to do stuff like that.
And I still wouldn't even do it.
Yeah, I would. You can give me all the money in the world. I'm not doing that.
Animals
it's too
have
dangerous.
Bacteria. They have all sorts of issues.
Right.
You can't.
So if your question is, even though you just want to talk about it or just ask our opinions, if you're asking what the best diet is, it's really, the truth is people sell stuff to you and whatever. If you're looking for something fast, I would say keto, but realistically, just a balanced diet. That's really it. So if you're trying to lose weight, the rule is, and the rule that I've always been taught was lower your calories by 500 if you're trying to cut, up it by 500 if you're trying to bulk. That's really the truth.
Well, there's been some studies. I just read an article too about the fasting. So the one that works out of all of them, the 2 days on, 1 day off, all this stuff, they compared the 3. The best was a period of time every day. Right. So you stop eating at a certain time.
Intermittent fasting is what we would call it.
Right, and do X number of hours. Then you can start eating during that window, but eat balanced, I would say. So if you're trying to lose weight and you want to do keto, I think the number one problem I see, especially here in America when it comes to food, is number one, people think they need more food than they really do to get through their day.
Yeah.
And number two, because we're trained mentally with marketing and everything. Got to eat those 3 meals. You got to have this. You got to have that. You got to blah 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 blah. On top of it, they do a diet like keto. Then they come off of it and they're craving carbs. Right now, it's a mind thing. You don't need as many. You need carbs, but you don't need as much. Yeah. People don't gradually go back.
Well, people are probably going to say, well, that's because you're not disciplined enough, right? That you get off keto and you have to worry about carbs. Eventually, you have to introduce carbs back into your system, right? Because otherwise, your organs are going to shut down, as we said.
Right, but Americans don't do that. They just go crazy, and they,
your carb source ends up being goldfish or chips.
Right.
You're supposed to do like potatoes and rice, and we get back into it.
Right.
But again, the brain, it's not. If discipline comes from the brain. If the brain is craving something,
Yeah.
then you have that you can't. There's no discipline involved,
Right.
right? So, to my mom's point, intermittent fasting for me has worked well the last 8 years I've been doing it. I'd probably be 400 pounds if I didn't intermittent fast based on how I eat, but it's really just about your calories. You have to, if you really want to lose or gain weight, you have to manage your calories.
Right. But let me just point this out to you for all you guys with the intermittent fasting. That's always how people used to eat.
Yeah.
You didn't eat.
That's not really true, because we used to say that breakfast was a meal. Like you should be having breakfast.
No.
Breakfast is awful for you.
People didn't eat after dinner. Nobody went and had snacks at 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's fair too.
People didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's a recent, I'd say from my age, like we didn't snack at night, or it wasn't common to snack at night. People eat all day now. Food is easy. It's processed. It's there. It's in a box. It's in a bin. You could shove stuff in. You don't have to make homemade cookies, right? I mean, that's the joke of it. People ate more food generations beforehand, healthy food, homemade food, big meals, meat and potatoes every night, but they burned it off and they weren't snacking. You had your dessert right after dinner, and you were done for the night, because people don't want to cook at night, and there was no ho-hos in a plastic wrapper in the pantry. So we've changed, and like I said, we've gone through this head case thing. There's websites that are like Noom and Golo, I think spells, but they work with the mind as much as what you're eating to say, are you really that hungry right now? I mean, I've never done the process, but it's getting people to rethink about food. Food serves a purpose. It's not just something you do when you're bored or whatever. A lot of people eat for no reason. When you pick a diet, that's my point. You're losing weight. You want to lose weight during a period of time.
Right.
Americans are constantly on a diet because they break the diet, they go off the diet. A lot of people, but I'm saying Americans.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. Like right around now, the person writing the question, every other commercial is about a diet, this, diet, that, because New Year's resolutions. Everybody wants to get healthy in January. They fall off come February. You never see people at the gym again. So keto works well. It's fast, it's quick. Americans
but it's
love
easy
that.
to put back on, yeah.
But it's easy to put it back on.
And that's what people don't talk about, the aftermath of keto. So that's why, even though I recommend keto for quick weight loss, if you're just trying to look decent for the summer and then put it back on by the end of summer, keto works well, which is the inevitable.
You shouldn't always...
Right, but that's the downside of
keto.
keto.
Be an adjustment to how you eat.
That's why I say just lower your calorie count to a comfortable amount. I always do 500. I always try and gauge it. I'm not the kind of person that tracks calories, but like I kind of know what's 500 and what's not.
Right. And lean heavier on proteins if you're very active. More on vegetables and fruit if you're not as active, but yeah,
vegetables are good for you, but I'm sorry, vegetables are good for you, but fruit's good for you, but again, a lot of times those are full of sugars. Even if they're not good sugars, it's still a carb. So like strawberries aren't great for you, apples aren't great for you. If you can do raspberries and cranberries and whatever, those are actually very good for you.
Blueberries are antioxidants, so they're supposed to be good for your cells. But
stuff like that.
And never should do it on a whim. Yeah. Some of these radical diets.
But obviously, take strawberries over ice cream.
Right.
Like that. Like don't. If you're really trying to lose weight and you're like, I need to lose 500 calories. 500 of those calories can't be ice cream. It should be 500 calories of.
Right, because you're just going to fail because the body's going to crave more.
The body's
not going to do it for you.
Yeah. The body. There's good carbs and bad carbs. There's simple carbs, complex carbs. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think it's just what you got to have the mindset, lifestyle change, and a mindset if you want to keep it off, because you can't.
If you cut by 500, or if you're adding 500, it's pretty easy. Once you start cutting more than that, that's when it gets a little dicey. But if you're someone that already takes in 1,000 calories a day, which is not a lot, and you're like, I want to lose more. Clearly, that's more of a medical issue of like a.
The body sometimes says it starts storing when you cut back.
Yeah, for women, I think I'm pretty sure on this. Women are supposed to gauge between 1,700 and 2,200 calories a day, whereas men it's more so 2,200 to 2,500 calories a day.
But it's not just based on calories, because there's a lot of people that cut back and they run. Story after story, you'll hear, especially older women. I've cut back. I run twice as long. But what happens is the body starts storing and it won't lose.
Because age is definitely a factor. But generally speaking,
a lot of things.
the general rule
You cut back your
yeah.
intake and you do more exercise. That's the
Yeah.
simple formula.
Well,
for
even if
losing
you're not exercising more, exercise is a catalyst. Any bodybuilder, anyone in fitness will tell you 90% of it's in the kitchen, right? So you have to cut the calories first
Well,
before
hold on.
you.
90% is in the kitchen for people that are active. You got
Right,
people
but if you're
that
not
say,
active,
I'm sitting on a sofa all day long. I don't understand. I don't eat my chips anymore. I should lose weight. Don't work that way. You still have to move. Maybe you're not lifting weights, but you've got to do some sort of
technically
exertion.
that's not true, because if you're 800 pounds and you're averaging 6,000 calories a day, if you drop it down to 4,000, you're gonna lose weight, not exercising, because the body's gonna metabolize.
And it can't move. The body can't move at that point.
Right.
But you're gonna reach a plateau, and for the average person, any doctor's going to tell you, and it's proven time and time again, not the time, not going to say it's fast or whatever.
Right.
It's a lifestyle change. You got to take fewer
yeah.
calories, and you got to move more.
Yeah. The moving process, I wouldn't say I'm arguing with the doctor, but like, if you're someone that works 7 days a week or whatever, and you can't get to a gym, as long as you're cutting the calories, you'll lose weight. You're not going to have that crazy Arnold Schwarzenegger body by not exercising. But if you're just trying to lose weight, you're going to do it just by lack of eating. Like if you cut your calories, it's going to go down.
But I'm thinking of a lot of obese kids that just sit on a sofa all day.
Yeah, but they're eating crazy amounts of calories.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. They
to your point,
are.
if you're not active at all, then and you're eating the same amount of calories, you're going to gain weight. But if one, like, I guarantee you, a kid that, let's say he was overweight and he's decided I can play games for 24 hours, eat the next day, he'll lose weight.
Yeah,
it's a terrible way of doing it, but you'll lose weight.
It's not healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. We shouldn't be talking about the unhealthy. The healthy is just figure out where your calories are, lower it by 250 to 500 to start. And that's how you would start to lose weight on top of everything else that you're doing, like just moving around.
Well, and evaluate where you're getting your calories from when you reduce it. Because if it's from junk or processed food, it's going to be that much harder to make a dent in losing it, right? Because you're not really eating, anything healthy or worthwhile. So, like, how many years I was doing shakes for so long, leveled off.
Shakes suck.
Well, I mean, they had their times when it worked. Sometimes it didn't. But now I eat a bowl of cereal in the morning, and that lasts me all morning. I can go till dinner now. So even though I'm having something more substantial, I feel healthier. Not to say, like, Dad's doing the shakes too, because they're good if you just want to lose a few pounds. But at some point, you got to cut it off. Either I'll admit
you can't liquidate your...
Well, I wasn't following the program to the T, so it was taking longer. It wasn't working. So what's the point? It's a lot of money for these stupid shakes. Dad can do it. He'll lose 5 pounds in a week just by substituting one meal. That's great. He keeps everything else the same. I found that, if I'm more active, believe it or not, I don't have to eat more, but if I do eat something more substantial.
The body goes, hey, we need something to make up for this loss that we're not used to.
Right.
The hardest part in dieting, if you're doing it the right way, is you have to tell the body that even though we feel hungry, we're not hungry because I know we hit our we hit our macros. Right. So your macros are your carbs, just for those that don't know, carbs, fats, and proteins.
And let's be honest, when do we in general, you eat the most? You're sitting at a desk or you're in front of a TV.
A lot of it's boredom.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it's boredom eating is very common, and a lot of people don't realize they're doing it.
Absolutely. It's a very bad problem. And sleep. If you want to lose weight,
sleep's another one.
You got to get decent sleep.
My sleep's awful.
Yeah, and it's, if you're up, your hours are late at night, it doesn't, what my aunt used to say, 1 hour before 11 is worth 2 after 12. So you get more, because people say, I'll just sleep in
I think
the
that's
morning,
old school. As long as you're getting the amount of hours you need. Because, think of people that work during the night, right? If you work at night and you sleep during the day, you just have to get the 8 hours. It doesn't matter when you get it.
Right, but she was using that as an example because most people go to bed at a certain time.
Yeah.
Her point was...
I'm just saying, because nowadays, people don't really go to bed before 11. Like, no one... You and Dad go to bed at 11, you say that's the normal?
No,
but
we don't go to bed at 11. But
12,
the point is...
Whatever.
And you should... I don't know if you can, but it's worth trying sometime. Do you see a difference in your weight loss and mental function if you do go to bed earlier and get up earlier?
The hardest part for me is the muscle loss. That's what I can never get over. Like, whenever I lose 5 pounds, I lose like 10 pounds off all my weights. That I can't mentally. My ego goes, why can't I not lift as much?
Oh, well,
That's my problem.
I can't answer that
Yeah,
question.
that's why I hate losing too much weight, because then I lose all my strength. That's the worst aspect for me. I'd rather keep my strength.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah?
Yeah, because there's plenty of strong football players that have the smallest waists possible and a six-pack, and they're huge on top. So there is a way to do it, obviously. Lots of them do it.
Yeah, it's again,
the goldfish
you
at
need
12 o'clock.
mass moves mass. That's the general rule of lifting. But you also have to remember, I'm stronger than most football players, even though you haven't seen it.
Well,
my mom doesn't go to the gym with me, but yeah, I mean, I shattered most records.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
There's strength is there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying you don't have to be big in the middle, or legs. Yeah, should be big if you're lifting a lot. But person doesn't have to have a big waist to be muscular, strong, and big built. That's your core.
Well, yeah, like for me, yeah. I think all because you have a core doesn't mean you're strong, though. Like, just because you have abs doesn't mean that you're strong.
I disagree. I think a strong
there's no
abs,
disagreement. We just did a lifting competition.
No, I'm just saying, if you have a strong core, that gives you a stronger back, which gives you the ability to lift more, because that is. Yeah, I think you got to do some research on that one, and I would definitely challenge you. The first thing they'll tell you if you have a bad back is to do core exercises.
Right, but I just deadlifted, and my back's perfect now. I used to have so many back pains, and I did the opposite of that, and now my back's fine.
So you probably have a better core than you did.
But I just told you I've been deadlifting. It has nothing to do with core.
No, but
so
I'm
I just
saying,
shattered your argument.
No, but stuff that you lift, regardless of what type you're lifting. Right?
I haven't done abs in probably like 2 years.
Core is a good portion of lifting. You got to have a strong core. That's your center for sports,
for
lifting, for everything.
It's not so much the core, it's the balance that you get from the core. So if you have good balance, your strength's going to be there. Because even if you have
it also helps your back, and there are certain exercises that you do with lifting that's back oriented. A good portion of it comes from your core, no matter what you're doing. It helps to have that. It's not the only thing. I'm not saying you're strong because your core, but that
what I'm saying is just because you
thing.
See guys like Chris Hemsworth, who's in phenomenal shape, that doesn't mean they're strong.
That's true. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that somebody that is dumpy in the middle and is very strong, I wouldn't call them healthy. Just because they're strong.
Half Thorby Ornson, Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, the 3 strongest men in the world.
And they have a big gut. No, I don't consider that healthy. Not at all.
Oh, I think you're going to make a lot of people mad that way.
That's fine.
I mean,
that's fine.
I think you'd have to have a talk with Eddie Hall on that one.
I'll be happy to talk with anybody about it. I mean, I'm not a diet expert. I'm not a this expert, that expert. But that's right up there with people telling me that Lizzo is healthy. She's not healthy. Okay?
She's not.
These are heavy people, and heavy is it's not a giant person. Heavy could be somebody that's carrying a spare tire around them, and that doesn't mean they're not strong.
So
do you think?
So then, do you think Chris Hemsworth is healthy?
I can't answer that. Doesn't he have like a genetic problem or something? But
well, I mean, okay, let's take. You think Henry Cavill's healthy?
I think he has been in really good shape where he says.
See, that's what I mean, though. You're going off of shape.
But he's made a point of saying, because I don't know what he eats, I don't watch what he eats, but he made a point of saying when he was in what looked like very good shape that he wasn't very healthy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Stuff like that. Zac Efron did Baywatch, and he was in phenomenal shape. You remember his pictures for that, but he said that was the unhealthiest he's ever been.
Yeah.
So
trust me. So you can take it to an extreme to get to that point, but a person who does it in a healthy way, meaning good diet, good exercise. Yeah, they can lift a lot and they're very strong. That's great. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But they're also at a size in their middle where there's not extra fat pockets. That's all. It's healthier not to have that. Regardless of how strong or how not. That fat around your waist ain't making you stronger. It's not making you lift more. That's baloney. Okay?
That's not true. Because when you look at the world's strongest men, they're all what you would probably consider overweight.
It's not because they're fat in the middle. It's not.
Mass moves mass, right? We just said that.
If you've got strong legs, a strong back, okay, and a strong gut, you're going to lift just as well, but there's nothing healthy about somebody with fat there. Sorry.
What do you think of that guy?
I think he's probably incredibly strong, but he does not look healthy to me. He's got a huge gut in his middle. Now, if you tell me that's a rock hard gut, then maybe that's something muscular blown out. I don't know. But if I'm poking it and my finger's going in because it's soft, that's not helping him lift. That's just fat. So I don't know what that's made of. I'm not in front. I'm not telling him anything else. It's not.
I think we're gonna see very differently on this one.
Well,
so
I think you could be just as strong and in shape. Fat around your middle does not make you strong.
That guy's deadlift is almost 1,200 pounds.
I'll say it again, and let's find ourselves.
You will never find someone skinny doing that much weight because you need the mass to move it.
There's a difference between mass and fat, and I do not believe. And let's find somebody who's a health expert.
That guy's a health expert.
Who could tell me? I want a human being, not somebody on some podcast that you see.
The world's strongest man.
No, I want to talk to somebody about that. And maybe they'll prove me wrong and say, no, fat is good for lifting. You'll lift more.
For lifting, yes.
If you have a lot of fat around your waist, that's going to help you lift. I want to hear somebody tell me that.
Well, you got to look at all the world's strongest men. They're all...
I want a health person who's done the research to say that that's the reason why those men are lifting heavy. If they tell me, well, they're lifting heavy because they're fat. If they were skinnier, they wouldn't lift as much. Okay, I'd like to hear that from somebody.
Yeah, that's a fact. We can find that. We can find.
I want to talk to somebody who knows it. I don't want to hear from some Liver King or something. I want to hear from somebody that I know to tell me.
Liver King's in phenomenal shape.
Whatever. I want to hear from somebody who's an actual dietitian, somebody who lifts, somebody who's an exercise, trainer or whatnot. I want them to tell me that when you weightlift, because I don't, right? I'm not a weightlifter, that fat helps you to be stronger.
Well, mass. Well, okay, so hold on. Let me back up your argument then. It's not the mass does help. So let's say you're 315 pounds of muscle, right? The body can only hold so much muscle before the heart starts going, oh, this is not safe.
Maybe we're not talking about the same thing.
I'm talking about strength.
Mass at the stomach in the form of muscles? Absolutely.
Mass
in your stomach in the form of fat?
Well, at a certain
I do not
point,
believe
if you want to keep
that
going,
helps make you stronger.
Okay, well, every strong man's going to disagree with you on that.
I'd like to hear a health expert, not a strong man.
But if we're talking about lifting heavy, then what are you talking about? You're talking about heavier lifting, right? There's a reason this guy is...
You said it makes you stronger, regardless of lifting. I'm assuming a heavier lifting person can lift more.
Yeah.
I want to hear somebody who's a weight training health expert tell me that these heavy people are strong because they have fat.
Yeah.
That the more fat has made them stronger around their middle. That's what I want to hear them tell me.
Yes, the more mass that they're going to have is going to
Mass is different than what we're saying. If you've got a massive ab stomach, muscular mass.
So again, with Eddie Hall here, would you consider that fat?
Like I said, what I'm looking at, not touching it, that looks not like muscles to me. If that's muscular, that's a different story, okay? But if that's fat, there's no way you're telling me having that fat, or I could be wrong, but I want somebody who's an expert tell me that having fat will make you lift more. Mass is different, but let's put it this way, if that mass is fat and you're telling me that that's good for lifting and makes you stronger, I'm interested to hear somebody tell me that.
You're going to have to, you'll hear a lot of people tell you otherwise.
But again,
you're going to have to find
mass in your stomach.
I would be more surprised if you can find someone that backs up your argument.
Mass in your stomach in the form of muscle, right?
Sure.
I'm okay with that. That I agree will help you to lift. That's what I said. The more you build up your core muscles, the more that helps you back, the more that makes you stronger, you can lift more. That I think is true. If you're telling me, mass with some muscle, but
everyone
fat
has abs underneath fat, right? Everyone has abs, right?
But adding more fat to the abs you have, you're saying that helps you for making you stronger. I don't know that that's true. I'm not gonna say it's wrong, but I'm gonna hunt somebody down who's more of an expert than I am about that, because that's just counterintuitive to anything. Oh, Dad should be home soon. Counterintuitive to anything I've ever heard in my entire life. That fat's gonna make you lift more.
This is gonna be rough. That's gonna be a tough hill to die on.
Yeah, the hardest part is finding that expert.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm not sure.
The one that backs your argument, yes.
No. Listen, if they come back and tell me, fat is, it holds you up. it's more mass to hold you up so you can lift more. All right, I want somebody to tell me that because I just don't get it. I don't think that has any added value. Core mass, that's a different story.
All right. Anyway, let's end it there. We just did 2 hours and a half.
We didn't.
No. So the only things I have to promote are we're pretty much done with zombie maps. Jason and I have done way too many this year so far already. So the only thing we have, I'll start putting out. So this comes out Monday. So Sunday we'll have the Frigid should have came out, which is the last Call of Duty map we're doing for a while, unless one really crazy comes out and I have no other videos. Other than that, Twitch clips last week, and last week's podcast. And as I said, we'll probably start posting the speed runs from last year next weekend. So, yeah, and then we're going to try and do some speed runs this week. I think that's really it. So other than that, social media down below, promo codes down below, other streamings down below, Discord down below for those of you that want to post podcast questions and whatever else, just chilling it. And I will see you guys on, today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard for stream. So good job, Mom.